Hi there. Welcome to the video I've been really excited about doing. In this video, I am looking at my 4 new favorite microphones: the Line Audio CM4, the Octava Mark 12 with a cardioid capsule, the Rode NTG5, and the Sennheiser 8050. I'm David, and as always, I am running these tests in the same way. I'm testing each microphone with the peak set between -12 and -18, getting whatever noise floor I get from doing that. I record 20 sentences, which are between 1 and 9 words each, testing character voices, sibilance, plosives, proximity, etc. I then normalize those sentences to between -20 and -24 so that they don't peak and so that they can be compared to each other. Beyond that, there's no editing and no second takes, just those adjustments to balance the LUFS. What that also means is that these were the last tests I ran between I fixed everything by reinstalling everything that was causing the weird kind of graunches I was getting in my recordings. So there is some distortion on some of these tests, which I've left in rather than repeat all the tests. The microphones I'm testing in price order are the Line Audio CM4, which is £159 in the UK, $200 in the US. The Octava Mark 12 with high-pass filter pad, although I'll come back to that. It's £269 in the UK, $323 in the US. The Rode NTG5, which is £409 in the UK, $499 in the US. And the MKH 8050, which is £999 in the UK from Wex and $1,499 in the US, although I got mine for £704. First up, the Line Audio CM4, as we know, has a very wide frequency response. So it tends to pick up too much bass, contributing to an overly high noise floor. So I have solved that by recording with this in line. This is the Shure A15 HP. It's a high-pass filter. It reduces the noise floor of the CM4 from -60 to -66, which is a pretty good effect considering the microphone's got a self-noise of 16 dBA. I haven't used this microphone that much. It's living in my travel kit, but I do love the sound of it, and it will get use when I next travel. The second microphone was meant to be the Octava Mark 12 with a high-pass filter pad attached to it. In the end, I discovered something interesting. So this microphone has high self-noise of 18 dBA, and I was getting a noise floor of -60. But I was avoiding using it because the high self-noise was contributing to a higher noise floor that I'm really happy about. So I tried recording with the high-pass filter pad and the A15 HP, which only dropped the noise floor from -60 to -66, and there was still a noticeable hiss, which was confusing me. So after a bit of a Google, I removed the high-pass filter pad and tried just the A15 HP, and the signal-to-noise ratio stayed at -66. Let me point out, the signal-to-noise ratio stayed at -66. That's actually better than just getting a noise floor of -66. And it also got rid of the hiss. So, lesson learned, the high-pass filter that comes with the Octava 12 is a bit piss poor. The Rode NTG5, the third microphone, is, in terms of frequency response, pretty much what you'd expect if you combined what were my 2 favorite microphones, the MKH 416 and the TLM 102. It avoids the little dip that was found in the TLM 102, and it had a little bit less sizzle than the MKH 416, but it was very, very easy to EQ when that was even necessary. Has great self-noise of 10 dBA, and I get a noise floor, and I'm recording of -66 in my hitbox just here. I haven't actually used it as much as I expected because I was too nervous to swap microphones. And I was just about to do so, permanently switch from the TLM 102 to the NTG5 for my audiobooks, when I got hold of the 8050 and switched to that instead. speaking of the 8050, that again I have recorded with the Shure A15HP. I mean, this thing is a wonder. We know from the frequency response curve that the kind of bass response is so high that it causes a very high noise floor, even though our ears can't detect it, only kind of instrumentation can detect it. It does suffer a little from over-exaggerating my voice at the expense of clarity, and as I feared, it does sound a little bit distant due to the drop at the top. Now, fascinatingly, despite the self-noise of 13 dBA, the noise floor I was getting without high-pass filtering was minus 52. And as I mentioned in my MKH 8050 review, adding in a software high-pass filter dropped that to minus 62. But adding in the hardware A15HP drops that to minus 66, which is great. You know, that is a really good noise floor. My experiences with this microphone have been quite significant, actually. At the time of recording, I have been using it for everything for a few weeks. Haven't yet done any audiobooks with it, but it is the first microphone I have ever switched into using in favour of the TLM 102. It was the third and final death knell for the 102. And yeah, it's now been my workhorse microphone on a day-to-day basis. Let's have a listen to the tests.
Cue dramatic music. Cue dramatic music. Cue dramatic music. Cue dramatic music. Or don't wear not your mom. 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 Crunchazoids. 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 Now, imagine the perfect espresso. 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 Precision is not an option. 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 Talk to someone who gets it. 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 I don't think we should go in there. 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 I brought you a spoon. 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 Oh, it's a lovely day to be a me. Oh, it's a lovely day to be a me. Oh, it's a lovely day to be a me. Oh, it's a lovely day to be a me. I'm the best magical dog. 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 All are safe under my protection. 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 Roll up, 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 roll up. You just got mud on my shoes. 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 I was never in the shadows. 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 Client said it'd be easy. 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 I'm going to count down from 3 and then. I'm going to count down from 3 and then. I'm going to count down from 3 and then. I'm going to count down from 3 and then. Kill them all. Kill them all. Kill them all. Kill them all. She sells seashells by the seashore. 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 Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. 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 They're right behind you. They're right behind you. They're right behind you. They're right behind you.
Now, as always, I have also tested these microphones with processing, which, does make a difference. Less so now I've got the wonder that is the A15HP, but it does make a difference. So for that, I've recorded the first paragraph of Winnie the Pooh and processed it to ACX standards, and let's have a listen. Here is Edward Bear, coming downstairs now, bump, 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 on the back of his head, behind Christopher Robin. It is, as far as he knows, the only way of coming downstairs, but sometimes he feels that there really is another way, if only he could stop bumping for a moment and think of it. And then he feels that perhaps there isn't. Anyhow, here he is at the bottom and ready to be introduced to you, Winnie the Pooh. Here is Edward Bear, coming downstairs now, bump, 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 on the back of his head, behind Christopher Robin. It is, as far as he knows, the only way of coming downstairs, but sometimes he feels that there really is another way, if only he could stop bumping for a moment and think of it. And then he feels that perhaps there isn't. Anyhow, here he is at the bottom and ready to be introduced to you, Winnie the Pooh. Here is Edward Bear, coming downstairs now, bump, 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 on the back of his head, behind Christopher Robin. It is, as far as he knows, the only way of coming downstairs, but sometimes he feels that there really is another way, if only he could stop bumping for a moment and think of it. And then he feels that perhaps there isn't. Anyhow, here he is at the bottom and ready to be introduced to you, Winnie the Pooh. Here is Edward Bear, coming downstairs now, bump, 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 on the back of his head, behind Christopher Robin. It is, as far as he knows, the only way of coming downstairs, but sometimes he feels that there really is another way, if only he could stop bumping for a moment and think of it. And then he feels that perhaps there isn't. Anyhow, here he is at the bottom and ready to be introduced to you, Winnie the Pooh. Okay, so what are my conclusions? Well, last time about the Line Audio CM4, I was positive about the size and the weight, the purity of the sound, hiding the high noise floor well, being resistant to sibilance, and being forward-sounding. But I was less positive about the boring proximity effect, the lack of clarity on the piglet test. I don't want to go in there. I don't think we should go in there, which most microphones do badly on, and the sensitivity to plosives. So recording now with the A15HP, the noise floor has improved. It's no longer as sensitive to plosives because it's not picking up those frequencies so much. Unsurprisingly, because the polar pattern hasn't changed, it still has a really boring proximity effect, and it still suffers a little on the Piglet test, but it is a general improvement. The Octava Mark 12 compares really well. I think it's got a really kind of radio sound. I don't know why. I don't quite know why I'm saying that, but I think you can hear it, the radio sound. It's very forward. It has sharp transients. It has an incredibly flattering proximity effect. Let's have a listen to it.
Precision is not an option.
And somehow it's the only microphone that sounds clear on the Piglet test, which is this.
I don't think we should go in there.
On the other hand, there are some negatives. It's very radio-like. Yes, I put that in the positives and the negatives. You know, I like the sound, but it is a unique sound. And yes, it does have the highest noise floor out of these microphones, although not by much. The Rode NTG5, I like the lift in the present band of the frequency. And on the other hand, it does sound slightly distant, perhaps reflecting that the boost could benefit from being a bit higher. But this is the only microphone I didn't re-record as part of the tests. I just used the original recording because I haven't made any changes. You know, it didn't need the A15HP. And then finally, the MKH 8050. So last time I reviewed it, I was positive about the warmth of the tone, the size, the frequency response, making it a great all-rounder, and the Foley mic, the lack of sibilance, and the very honest sound. But I was less positive about quite a few things. I wasn't happy that it needed to be EQ'd to really see the benefits. I thought it had a less flattering proximity effect than the MKH 416. I consider it a bit overpriced. The self-noise was dreadful, and like most microphones, it failed the Piglet test. So what has got better? So firstly, the noise floor. Significant improvement going from -52 to -66. It is the best microphone, without a doubt, on two of the tests. On I Brought You a Spoon.
I brought you a spoon.
And It's a Lovely Day to Be a Me.
Oh, it's a lovely day to be a me.
As well as All Are Safe Under My Protection.
All are safe under my protection.
Like the Line Audio CM4, I find it very gentle on the sibilance, and no matter what voice I'm doing, I find it to be the most honest response, which, given the number of different voices I do with audiobooks in particular, is a really good thing. I found it borderline unplosiveable because it allows for positioning at which it picks up very little air. And I love how sensitive it is, for example, with their right behind you test.
They're right behind you.
I also think the proximity effect is improved thanks to the high-pass filter. Rather than being overly booming, it's now quite flattering. Let's have a listen to the proximity effect.
Precision is not an option. Precision is not an option.
I still think it sounds a bit too muffled because it is still picking up too much bass, which is why in the Winnie the Pooh test, I still had another high-pass filter applied. I also think it doesn't do great on the Piglet test. But let's be honest, the Octava 12 is the only microphone that ever has done well on that. So my final thoughts. I've got 5 main thoughts, one per microphone and one about a microphone that's not actually on the list. So first up, the CM4. How on earth does such a cheap microphone perform so extraordinarily well? I desperately wish that Line Audio did a hypercardioid or a shotgun, because I would buy it in a nanosecond. Secondly, the Octava Mark 12. This is a question for you guys. Why does it sound so radio? I don't know if that's the right word. It's just the word I'm using, even without any processing. What is it that's making it sound so unique compared to the rest of the microphones? What is leading to this kind of coloration of the sound? If you know, leave me a comment. Tell me what's going on. Thirdly, the Rode NT-G5. The highlight of this microphone is the boost at the top end, which is partly why my final thought is what it is. But that's it for the NT-G5. Fourth, the MKH 8050. I'm still torn over whether to keep this. It's great, but is it great enough for the price? I would really like some comments on this. Does it sound better than the rest of the microphones to all of you? The opinions I've got so far say yes, but I'm still not sure. But then finally, given what I like about the 8050 and the NT-G5, my level of interest in testing the MKH 8060 has gone through the roof. It's got a frequency response more similar to the NT-G5, but it's got the quality of the 8050 and should be able to, pick up a very low noise floor. And it's not a long shotgun microphone by any means. It could be an absolute game changer. I don't want to build up my expectations too high, but I really, really want to get my hands on it. And I will even consider renting one if needs be in order to test. But I am, as always, looking out for a secondhand one on eBay. So coming up in the next video is a slight jump sideways, not a microphone. I am going to be featuring a bidirectional interview, meaning we're both interviewing each other, from a fellow autistic creative. And I will see you next time for that video. I am looking forward to seeing you again. Bye-bye.